I don't think they needed a rematch clause, because I think they're big enough that and
Trumps
depending
that.
on how the fight would go, that either one could it's a competitive fight, either one could enact that, you know what I mean, and the public would demand it. So I don't think that they needed to do that, but you got to take your hat off to Bud because he didn't want to wait. He didn't have no clause and nothing. He didn't have no rematch clause. He didn't have no weight clause. He didn't have nothing. He wanted to fight him straight out, and that's what he did. He just beat him with no stipulations,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
nothing in the background, nothing, no safety nets.
No
So
safety
show
nets,
me
no
some real shit.
rehydration clauses, none of that. Do you
Yeah.
feel like that elevates the wins that when it comes down to some of the guys that he was able to share the ring with? When I mean by Canelo, I mean Canelo, he lost to Bivol. Lots of
Hmm.
people said because he went up in weight, the weight
Hmm.
and the size was a factor. When it comes
Yeah.
down to Floyd Mayweather, he was too young at the time.
Hmm.
And now you got Bud Crawford that takes this challenge at 168 pounds for the undisputed title at
Hmm.
168. I mean, do
Yeah.
you feel like that kind of trumps or or just the performance alone of him putting hands on Canelo more than these other two guys? What do you think? I mean,
I
what do you
think so.
grade that?
I think so. I think so. I think his performance was better than both of those guys. Like I say, you had B-Ball, who was a big, stronger guy, a big guy, tall, rangy guy. But B-Ball is a tap puncher. He's not a strong puncher. He's not a hard hitting guy. He's a points guy. Um, who I wouldn't say he was cherry picked. That was a tough fight. Like I said, a lot of the public didn't know who B-Ball was. But he was a reigning champion for 5 years, and he had a few title defenses, and he had a great skill set. And so the attributes that he had, and for Canelo to overcome them, you know, was going to be hard, because like I say, Kovalev was a tall, rangy guy, but he was faded. Kovalev was past it. He'd been stopped a couple times. Andre Ward beat up on him a couple times, and so he was a little shot worn. He was a little shot worn, and even at then he was still in the fight. He was still in the fight. He had a good jab. He was still in the fight, but I think he had a little stamina issues as well, and Canelo overtook him, as he started to fade. Like, see, he dropped his hand and Canelo came over the top and knocked him down. And you see, he was more tired than hurt. When Canelo dropped him, he was more tired than hurt. But Canelo, overcame that. But with Bivol, you fighting a young guy. I think Bivol was like 25, 26. So you got fighting a guy that's entering into his prime, who's a well-schooled boxer. And with Mayweather, of course Mayweather just he just phenomenal. Mayweather just phenomenal, and he has the fundamentals to sustain himself at a later age. You see, he was 36 years old at a later age, and he's always been a smart boxer in there. Mayweather's dynamic. I can't take nothing away from Mayweather, but you know he didn't give Canelo a rematch as he got better. Canelo hadn't been on a big stage like that and hadn't fought a guy like that. Actually, I think he might have fought Trout before that. And so he seen that Trout gave him a lot of trouble in the way he was boxing. And so you can't compare Mayweather to Trout. So I think Mayweather seen that as well. But I also think that De La Hoya and them fed them to their hate for Mayweather at the time, led them to put that kid in there with him. You
That
know what I
early.
mean? Yeah, 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 yeah. Because like I say, it really was not warranted at the time. You know what I
Was it
mean? When you
was
think
it
about it.
just hate for was it just hate for Mayweather or maybe a little for Canelo as well? Did it start there or do
No,
you think
no,
that
no. No, I don't know. I don't think at the time I think they were pretty good. I'm not sure, but I would say that they was good, and I don't think they was trying to cash out on Canelo at the time. It was
right?
just too early. I think they could have built it up a little bit more if they were
Mhm.
trying to get him beat. But so no, but like I say, you got a guy with Crawford who fighting the very best Canelo. You fighting the very best Canelo, and like I say, seasoned. Like you say, this guy, he all these guys he fought, all these big events he fought. All these different styles that he fought. He was more seasoned when Crawford fought him, and Crawford fought him at a higher weight. They said They made the weight at 52. You
Yep.
know, and he was the champion. Canelo was the champion. So how you gonna make the champion? You know, them 2 pounds mean a difference sometimes. You know, so he made him weigh at 52, and so there was a stipulation in there. You feel me? It was a stipulation in there. Crawford, the older guy, no stipulation, and he going up 2, 3 weight classes. You know, so that gotta say it. And Crawford stood and fought. You know, Mayweather's didn't stand and fight. Mayweather's moved, pot shotted, and kept him at distance and did his thing. It was a dominant performance, but I think Crawford his performance was better, and I think it was shine more. In my opinion, like I say, Canelo was a more seasoned fighter, and you know, that was it. He got a lot better after he lost to Mayweather. He got a lot better.
What about the pain aspect of it? I mean, who do you feel like inflicted the most pain out of those guys as well?
Crawford. Did you see him turn him sideways with the body? Man, he turned him sideways with the body shot. I never seen no guy do that. I never seen him like he hit him and the man just go sideways. He did that with Spence too. Like, man, he did that, man. He stunned him. I mean, yeah, Crawford was never hurt. And this guy landed a couple good shots, straight right hands, but never hurt him. I seen you was talking to another guy. He was talking that maybe Crawford was like poker face, but I don't think he never hurt Crawford, man. Crawford, like he said, man, no, he wasn't. He never felt his punches like that. He never felt his punches like that. So I was listening to that guy say that Crawford was a poker face, but I talked to him personally, and he never revealed to me that oh man, he hurt me with a body shot, or oh, he caught me with a good shot, and man, I felt it, man. I had to get out of there. I had to make sure I didn't be. Crawford was actually wanted to stand there and fight him a little more, but if you heard Bo and them screaming, you don't got to do that, you don't got to do that, keep boxing him, and that's just what. So he just followed his corner. He wasn't being hard headed, just like with some of his other fights, he was maybe a little hard headed, and he took some punch that he didn't have to. But this time, he just listened to his coaches, so that was good on him, because he's a man there. He can do whatever he wants. Only we can do is just give him the best game. But he knows, what to do, what he can and what he can't do. And even though I feel like he could have stayed and fought a little bit more and really went for the stoppage, he just decided to listen to his corner. And that was just it. He decided to listen to his corner.
No, and I heard, and he acknowledged that, and he also said that Canelo was still strong. He was still a strong man.
Mhm.
You listening to the corner and stuff like that, you could see that you guys are one, so to get the job done at the end of the day, and I can appreciate that, because sometimes you think, damn, with all these core voices, how can a fighter stay focused and stuff like that? But yeah, really clear headed, and that's a big piece. Nobody goes to the body on Canelo, but Crawford does.
Yeah.
What do you see that made it so successful that he was able to touch the body with no fear?
Well, he didn't start out from too far, so he didn't leave himself open to counters. They was on the inside, and Crawford just goes to the body. That's part of his staple. He's going to go to the body. That's part of his forte. So,
That's why
um,
Mexican fans love him.
uh, um, so if that's your forte, you're gonna find a way. You know what I'm saying? To go to the bot, you're gonna find a way, and that's part of his arsenal. That's what makes him so dangerous, because he varies his attack, up and down. So um, that was no surprise to me. Might have surprised a lot of people, but we worked on everything. Everything that he did, it was all practice. Everything that he did, the catching, the countering, it was all practice. And we had great sparring partners. We had great sparring partners.